Dear students, we will study natural embedding of n into n star star. Natural embedding of n into n star star. We are continuing the proof of the theorem from the previous lecture. Recall that we have defined a function phi from n into n star star as phi of x is equal to fx. In the previous lecture, we proved that fx is linear and bounded, and this verifies the fact that fx is in n star star. Now we want to prove that due to boundedness of fx, phi is also bounded, that you note. So we will prove the following properties. Let me say this is third property. First and second, which we proved in previous lecture, where fx is linear and fx is bounded, and fx is bounded. Now third property which we will prove is that phi is linear. Phi is linear. So to establish the linearity of phi, we have to prove that phi of alpha x plus beta y is equal to alpha phi x plus beta phi y. Take x and y in n and alpha be a scalar, So rather than proving for that phi of alpha x plus beta y equals to alpha phi x plus beta phi y, I will separately prove two properties. So let me say first property is A. I will prove that phi of x plus y is equal to phi x plus phi y. So to prove the linearity of phi, it is sufficient to prove these two properties, A and B. Phi of alpha x is equal to alpha phi x. So first property which we will prove is phi of x plus y equals to phi of x plus phi of y. Now try to understand what is phi of x plus y. It is the function f of x plus y. And what is phi x? It is fx plus fy. So we want to prove that these two functions are equal. So when two functions are equal, say we have two functions, let me call h1 and h2. If h1x is equal to h2x for all x in the domain, then we can say that h1 is equal to h2. Okay. So here we have to prove that these two functions are equal, means we have to prove that at all points of the domain these functions have equal values. So let us take a function f in n star. Let f be any functional in n star. By functional we mean linear, bounded and scalar valued function. So let f belongs to n star. Consider fx plus phi f. This is equal to, by definition of fx plus phi, we can write this as f of x plus phi. This I can write as by using linearity of f. Why f is linear? Because it is in the n star. So by linearity of f, I could write as fx plus fy. The reason is that f is linear as f belongs to n star. So fx plus fy, again that I could write as fx of f plus fy of f. By using definition of addition of functions, I could write this as fx plus fy f. So this is what we have obtained. Two functions are equal. Let me write it. Thus fx plus y f equals to fx plus fy f for all f belongs to n star. Hence these two functions are equal. Which two functions I mean? Fx plus y and fx plus fy. Hence fx plus y equals to fx plus fy. This implies that phi of x plus y is equal to phi x plus phi y. Now second property which we will prove, say property B. A we are done with. Now B, we want to prove that phi of alpha x equals to alpha phi x. Again, let f be arbitrary functional in n star. Consider alpha is a scalar. So consider for scalar alpha, f of alpha x f. Same idea we are going to use. Two functions are equal if they have same values at all points. So f of alpha x f, this I could write as by definition f of alpha x, use linearity of f as we have used earlier. So by using linearity of f, you could write this as alpha of fx, and this I can write as alpha fx of f. By using definition of scalar multiplication to a function, I could write this as alpha fx f. Thus, what we proved, f of alpha x f equals to alpha fx f for all f in n star. In other words, these two functions f of alpha x and alpha fx have same values at all points, to be precise at all functionals. Hence these two functions are equal, f of alpha x and alpha fx. Hence f of alpha x equals to alpha fx. This implies that phi of, because what is phi of alpha x? It is nothing but f of alpha x. Hence phi of alpha x equals to alpha times phi of x. This proves that our required conclusion that phi of alpha x and alpha phi of x. So this proves the third property. From A and B we can say that phi is linear. From A and B we conclude that phi is linear. So third property we are done with. Now fourth property which we will prove is that phi preserves norm. We want to prove that it is isometric. Phi preserves norm, that is isometric. So to prove this, from first, recall that the first statement with reference to the previous lecture. In first statement we had written that norm of fx is less equal to norm of x. So this was our first statement. If so, we consider two cases, x is 0 and x is non-zero. If x is equal to 0, then norm of norm of fx is clearly 0. The norm of fx is 0. So in this case we clearly get that. Norm of phi x is equal to norm of fx is equal to norm of x, which is equal to 0 when x is equal to 0. So this is the first case which we are done with. Now second case, if x is not equal to 0, then by known theorem, so by known theorem I mean one of the theorems which we have obtained by using Hahn-Banach theorem. So by the result and by known result or theorem, there is this result we have proved. If possible, I'll request you to refer to the lecture in which we have obtained this result. There is a functional f in n star such that norm of fx is equal to norm of x and which is non-zero. So say this is second statement. Now recall the definition of norm. What is norm? It is supremum. So norm of fx is nothing but supremum of this set, norm of fx f, where norm f is less equal to 1. This is nothing but supremum of norm of fx where norm f is less equal to 1. Say this is third statement. What is norm of fx? It is, in this case, in fact I could write it as mod fx because it is scalar valued function. So norm of fx is supremum of this set, norm fx, where norm f is less equal to 1. And we are actually having, let me say, from the previous theorem, from the previous part of the proof, we had called this as first statement. So I can again number this one as first. Okay. So from first, this supremum is less equal to norm x. This supremum is less equal to norm x from first. And we are actually having a one element whose value is equal to norm x. So there is actually an element which is having the value norm x. So if you carefully think, you will get this, that supremum of this set must be norm x. That is, norm of fx must be equal to norm x. Because supremum is less equal to norm x, and there is actually an element which is having value norm x. So it should be clear now that from first, second and third, from first, second and third, we conclude that norm of fx is equal to norm of x, and this actually implies norm of phi x equals to norm of x, and this proves our desired conclusion that phi preserves norm. It is isometry. The one last property which we are going to prove is phi is 1 1. That will complete the proof of this theorem. Phi is 1 1. Phi is 1 1. So let phi of x is equal to phi of phi. Then this implies that fx is equal to fy. Which would further imply that fx of f is equal to fy of f for all f belongs to n star. For all f belongs to n star. Okay. So this would imply that fx of f minus fy of f is equal to 0 for all f belongs to n star. Now we can use the linearity of function phi. So if you remember that phi is linear, or better, let me write this as sorry, so I'd write this as phi of phi x, phi of, no, I'll write this as fx minus phi f, fx minus phi f is equal to 0 for all f belongs to n star. For all f belongs to n star. What is the reason? The reason is, since fx minus y equals to fx minus fy by linearity of phi. Okay. So let me repeat this statement and call this as fourth. Thus, what we proved, if phi x is equal to phi y, then fx minus phi f is equal to 0 for all f belongs to n star. Call this as statement number 4. If I could further simplify this if you want, by using definition of. So better, let me add one more step and then the resulting statement we will call it as fourth statement. So this implies further that f of x minus y is equal to 0 for all f belongs to n star. Now say this is fourth statement. For further clarification, I will say further simplified it. Okay. So f of x minus phi is equal to 0 for all f belongs to n star. If x minus phi is not equal to 0, then by known theorem, again this theorem we had obtained by applying Hahn-Banach theorem. So recall that theorem. If x minus phi is not equal to 0, then by known theorem there is a functional h in n star such that h of x minus phi is equal to norm of x minus phi, and it is not 0 because x is not equal to y. This clearly contradicts fourth statement. Hence, what could we write? Hence, our assumption that x minus y is not equal to 0 is not possible, hence x is equal to y. Thus, what we proved? Phi x is equal to phi y implies x is equal to y. Hence, phi is 1 1. Hence, phi is 1 1. Hence, phi is 1 1. So this completes the proof of the fact that phi is isometrically isomorphic to a subset of n star star. Let me revise what properties we have proved. So this is a brief revision of the proof which we have done. Phi we defined from n to n star. We defined it as phi x is equal to fx, where fx in turn is defined as fx of f equals to fx, where f belongs to n star. Then we begin the proof by verifying two facts. Fx is linear and bounded. Fx is linear and bounded. So this was the first property. Second was fx is bounded. In third property, we proved that phi is linear, phi preserves norm, isosnorm, and finally we proved that phi is 1 1. So all this two properties verifies the fact that fx is in n star star, and last three properties gives us the main result that n can be isometrically embedded into n star star. Sorry, here it should be n star star. Okay, so this is the brief revision or brief outline of the theorem which we have proved. Thank you.